Started the recording.
Oh gosh, that would be cool.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I
Are you
do.
old enough to remember that?
I do. Okay, so this is episode number 4 of So You Want to Start a Business, and we're sitting down with Adam, who is the owner of Stacked Pancakes, Main Street, Logan. So Adam, tons of questions, obviously. Number 1, why pancakes?
Great question.
You're awesome.
This is a question that always gets asked to me.
Okay.
Why pancakes? So, just growing up, I always thought it would be fun to own and run a restaurant in general, but I never really knew what that was going to be, what type of restaurant. In fact, I was just talking to someone earlier today about it, and I said, I actually really like burgers.
Nice.
And part of me wanted to do burgers, and I actually used to debate, well, should I do pancakes and hamburgers?
Dude, that would be so crazy, but
It was
awesome.
kind of a weird combination, but so I didn't do it. Maybe someday we'll have a hamburger pancake or something.
There you go.
We've
That'd be
actually
cool.
messed around with that.
No way.
It's good.
Wait, that sounds way good.
Yeah. But so with the idea of always wanting to run a business, not just a business, a restaurant, and not knowing what it was just kind of in the back of my mind. What do I want to do when I, just living? I'm like, well, should it be this or this or this?
Right.
So when I was in college, 2010, so 10 years ago, I had the idea.
That's
of
crazy.
Pancakes. It's been a long time. And it was just while I was sitting at breakfast with my wife, and we were eating pancakes for breakfast. Who knew, right?
Yeah.
We were eating probably Krusty's pancakes.
Delicious.
I really enjoy peanut butter, bananas, and chocolate chips on my pancakes. So I'm sitting there eating the pancakes with my wife, and I said, why can't I go to a restaurant here in town and get peanut butter and banana pancakes?
Yeah.
And she said, I don't know. And I said, I don't either. I want to go to a restaurant and get peanut butter and banana pancakes. So why can't I do that? And she said, oh, I don't know. I said, well, I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
So that's really how the idea came about for a pancake restaurant.
That's so cool. I love peanut butter on pancakes, and so I think it's very innovative to do something like that. So you were eating Krusty's, and your guys' pancake mix is not Krusty's.
No.
Right? It is very homemade.
It is homemade.
So how did you get around to doing that?
Okay, so I knew that if I was going to open a pancake restaurant, I wanted to make it special and unique.
Right.
And I couldn't do that by making a pancake mix where you just added water.
Right, because anybody else could.
Anybody can do that. I didn't want to just go to a food supplier and say, send me a bunch of pancake mix and I'm going to throw them on the griddle and put some unique toppings on them and call it good. So I took to the internet and I started searching what makes a good pancake.
Pinterest?
How do I make pancakes from scratch? When did Pinterest start? I don't even know if I knew what Pinterest was in 2010. So
I don't know. I don't know when Pinterest started. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I didn't use Pinterest actually. I did later on.
Well, nice.
But yeah,
Great.
I've looked at Pinterest and looked at different combinations. And
Yeah.
oh, this is a great combination. I should try.
Well, that's really pretty. That's a pretty looking pancake.
But I think I just went to Google and I said,
Fair.
what makes a good homemade pancake and waffle? Actually, I was wanting to make a pancake that also made a good waffle.
Nice.
Even though we don't serve waffles here.
Yeah.
And so I just found a bunch of different recipes. I said, I don't want to just copy a recipe.
Right.
I want to know what makes them good. And so I wrote down different things. I said this, and tried them out in different ways. I said, I got to tweak this and tweak that. Most of them weren't very good.
Okay.
I'll tell you that. My wife had to try some not very good pancakes. I remember making one where she took a bite and spit it out and said, way too much salt.
Oh, no.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to take that out and we'll change that a little bit. And the pancake recipe that we have here is actually the very first one that my wife took a bite and said, okay, that's not bad.
Oh, good.
So
that's not bad.
It wasn't, oh, that's amazing or anything. It was,
that's not bad.
It's better than what we've had.
Good.
It's worth keeping. I said, okay, we're running with it. We're going. So that's really it.
That's cool. I mean, they're delicious pancakes. I love them. So You said that you always wanted to start a restaurant. You always wanted to have some sort of a restaurant. So how did you like grow up with that kind of a mindset? Like what made you be like, okay, well, I want to have a restaurant?
Yeah, so I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so
Okay.
I kind of saw the entrepreneurial thing being done just from a young age. And so for me, that was just kind of a normal way of life, seeing that. My dad owned a business where he was doing fly fishing stuff.
That's so cool.
And he was building fly rods and tying flies for fly rods in our basement. And so I always just saw that. He, I had to help him count beads for these flies that he was tying. And so I saw that, and then I think just having conversations in general with people, my sister especially, she would say, "Oh, I think a restaurant would be fun." I'm like, "Yeah, I want a restaurant too."
Yeah.
And so she'd probably mad at me that I did it, and she hasn't. But I don't. So that was part of it, and then I just worked in food.
Yeah.
So my first real job, I was a busboy at Village Inn.
Nice.
And so I didn't enjoy that job. Which
No,
is funny
it's not great.
That I went down the same path. I was just washing dishes and bussing tables. I never even was a server or anything.
That was like the one thing I hated more than anything was washing dishes. Like working in food service, it was like washing dishes is just garbage. I hate it. Ugh.
Here it's the relaxing job.
Yeah.
Especially on a Saturday morning when we're busy, the people downstairs washing dishes, they'll come upstairs like, "Oh man,
You guys are
are
busy."
crazy. I'm glad I'm downstairs. I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
Just washing dishes. So for here, it's kind of a break sometimes. But I don't know if all my employees would agree with that.
Yeah.
But that was kind of what it was. I worked in food most of my younger working career. I was at Papa John's all through college. I had every position there, making pizza, delivering, managing. And so I kind of just learned the business a little bit. And so I knew, hey, if I were to jump into this, I have a good idea of what I need to do to make this successful. So that kind of helped a lot too.
That's super cool. And do you have somebody like, just thinking here, because that's what I do, but just, do you have somebody that like pushed you more than others that were like, just do it?
I would say, my parents are always supportive. I don't know if I would say they pushed me or not. I got to be careful answering that question because if they listen to this, they'd say, "How could you not say that?"
How dare you? We pushed you forever.
Yeah, but I always had support. My wife was always supportive. This probably wouldn't have happened if she hadn't been.
Yeah.
I think I threw her off guard.
I'm sure, just randomly.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna make pancakes.
Well, I mean, she heard the idea in the first place. She was there, so that part was okay. But I think that there's a difference when you talk about an idea. A lot of people talk about an idea, and it never happens.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to hear an idea and say, "Oh yeah, that's great. You go for that."
Right. You chase your dreams.
Yeah, do it. You'll do great. And then most people, "Oh, okay, yeah," and they just talk about it and never do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if most people, a lot of people don't. And so I jumped into it, but when I started really small. I was just doing a 10-foot booth at the Gardener's Market and selling every Saturday, doing that. And I'd always say to her, we're going to open a restaurant someday. It's going to be a restaurant. We're building up to a restaurant. When I got to the point that I was going to do that, I kind of just told her it was happening. And I think I kind of threw her off that way. It's like, wait, what? No, I'm ready. We're doing it now. I'm going and talking to the guy. I'm going to sign a lease.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what? So that kind of threw her off a little bit, but she was very supportive of it. It still is.
I think that's so cool. Like this, having somebody support you, I think, is one of the most important. I mean, one of the most important points of being able to chase your dream, being able to chase whatever your crazy dream may be, really.
Right.
And that's so cool. So you said you started off at the Gardener's Market, right? So how did that even go? Did you have to put in like a permit the year before, or was it just like a...
Yeah, ideally you would.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so the Gardener's Market has a period of time where you apply to be at the market, and then they go through the applications and tell you if you were accepted or not. when I had the idea, the Gardener's Market had already started. It was a lot smaller than it is now.
Was it when it was over by?
It was in Merlin Olsen Park.
Yeah. My stepdad used to do them over there.
Oh yeah, what did he do?
He sold produce. He had tomatoes and blackberries and stuff like that. And so
cool.
that was probably so. That was one of my very first experiences of ever going to like a farmer's market, gardener's market thing. And I went over there and I was like, holy crap, this is so cool. There's so many random like things, and I'm a big fan. So
yeah, I never went to the Gardener's Market before I started selling, so I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. And after I started selling, I just realized how cool it is.
Yeah.
This is a great thing that people should go to all the time.
It's awesome. I mean, it's so cool because you just get so like invested in all of their random little booths, and it's just, I think it's really neat. I love it, being able to just like support the locals. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's great. My kids love going and walking around. I love going and selling, and actually it's nice to get out of the booth every once in a while and go walk around and see the other vendors. A lot of them I did never get to know because I was stuck in my booth the whole time. But it was a great experience for us. It prepped us and stepped us up to actually opening a physical brick and mortar restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, I probably wouldn't be doing this if I hadn't done the market first. But it was really good. Back to your question.
Sorry, I got a little distracted with it, but
you should apply, and they would do a lot. They were already open, running. So I actually didn't even know the market existed really before then. When I had the idea, I went to Jack's Fire Oven Pizza, which had just recently opened, and I walked inside and I said, "Is Jack here?" And the lady says, "Oh yeah, he's right over here. I'll get him." And he came out, and so he's a real person. Jack's a real person.
Cool.
And
noted.
And I said, "Hey, I don't know you." I said, "But I have an idea for a restaurant, and I know that you guys just got started. I think they had been only open 3 or 4 months at the time." I said, "Can you tell me what it was like for you to get started? What worked? What didn't work?" And he and I sat there and talked for about 2 hours. And I told him my idea.
Yeah.
And I was actually really nervous about telling him my idea. I was like, I don't even know this guy.
Right.
My idea.
Here's this random stranger. What if he takes my idea? I'm sure he wouldn't have taken your idea, but
he's busy doing his own business.
Right.
Why would he come take mine? But I talked to him about it, and he actually was the one that said, "You know what you should do? You should go to the Gardener's Market, and you should sell at the Gardener's Market." And that would be a good way for you to determine whether this is a legit idea.
Yeah.
Because customers will come there, and they'll tell you if what you're doing has any merit to
yeah.
it. And so I went to the Gardener's Market after they had opened. I found the manager, and I just went around asking, "Who's the manager? Who's the manager?" Someone told me, "Oh, that lady right over there." So I went and talked to her, and I said, "Hey, I would really like to come here and do a food booth selling pancakes." And I actually don't think she was very excited about it at first because they were already operating. They're like, "Well, that's not how we do things." I just kind of talked for a little bit, and she was like, "Okay, tell you what, just go fill out this application and bring it back to me." And they let me in.
That's
so it was kind of cool.
I think that's something that's really important, though, that people don't register, people don't think about. Like, it's so important to go out and go talk to those people that could be influences in your life, and who cares? Like, go out and go tell them what your dreams are, go tell them what your goals are, and maybe you're going to be able to get some really, really good information off of them. But I also really want to go back to your point about talking to the customers and talking to the people to actually figure out whether or not your thing has merit. That's one thing that I think a lot of people are not paying attention to, when it comes to anything business-wise. People are just like, okay, this is what works and this is what has worked, so it's going to continue to work forever and ever, amen. But instead, nobody's sitting back and being like, okay, let's ask the questions, let's see what we can do to be able to improve, to be able to adapt, to be able to change and move through into the future, really. Do you still do that kind of thing? Sit down, ask the customer, see what their opinions are on things? Yeah,
so we've got the restaurant's going. We've been open, actually it'll be 3 years this month.
Yay!
Which is kind of cool.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. We're excited to celebrate 3 years. But yeah, we have different ideas for new pancakes, like stacks,
Yeah.
combinations of toppings. And I ask customers all the time. So we'll mess around with a pancake.
Yeah.
When we started doing pumpkin spice pancakes
Delicious.
fairly early on. And we would just mess around with the recipes on our own. Same thing. I don't want to just go copy a recipe from online.
Right.
So we'd look. Oh yeah, what makes a good pumpkin spice cookie or cake or pancake or whatever, and we kind of do our own little messing around with it. And we came up with 2 or 3 different versions, and we'd have customers in here, and we would just cut them up and say, hey, you want to give us some feedback on this pancake? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
Yeah.
So we still do that. We've done it with that one. What else have we done? We had some chocolate pancakes that we tried it with. But yeah, we're constantly asking for feedback. We did do a lemon poppy seed pancake.
Ooh.
That same thing. We ask customers, hey, what do you think about this?
That sounds
And we have some
delicious.
customers that we just build relationships with them anyway, and they tell me if I'm messing up or not, which is nice.
Yeah.
Instead of just going online and giving me a poor review,
Right.
they'll come and say, hey, Adam, this didn't work, or this was missed, or it would really be better if you did this or this. And I listen to them, and I don't always do what they say because it's not always what I want, but I'll listen to it and say, okay, that's valid feedback. I'm going to try to improve on that. We always want to improve, but we've had some really good customers that are really open with us, which is nice, and we want to build that relationship with our customers anyway.
Right. I think that's one of the most important things is building the customer experience, building the customer interaction, and making sure that the customers know that you are your friends, really, because that's your biggest people. That's who is consuming your product, and making sure that they're going around and saying the right things to other people and saying, oh my gosh, you got to go check them out. You got to go try this. They just tried this lemon poppy seed or pancake. That sounds delicious, by the way.
It's good.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay, great.
No, it actually is really good. It's actually a really good seller. We put it on our menu. It's just like a specialty thing that was going to be limited time, and people really liked it, and now it's on there full time.
Nice. That's so cool. All from being able to get reaction from people and take it from there. So what have you found to be like your most successful moment in business? Whatever it may be, whether it's like this business or like other business that you've done before.
For me, the exciting part about business in general, so maybe I'll answer it this way.
Okay.
Is I enjoy seeing an idea come into reality.
Yeah.
So before I did pancakes, I did a t-shirt company. And before I did t-shirts, I did concert promotion.
That's cool.
And before I did concert promotion, I was just in a band, and I would promote my band. And it was just really exciting and cool to see an idea come together and turn into something. So like when I was in the band, I remember the first time I ever had a live concert, and only my mom showed up.
Nice.
And the other
Thanks, Mom.
the other band members' parents or something like that. And no matter how much I was like, oh, I want to play for something besides my parents.
Right.
It was cool to be on stage and play. So, we were playing original material. We came up with the idea, we practiced, we put it together, we went on stage, and we performed it. When I was promoting the concert, same thing, I would get onto the internet and I would look for bands that were touring and had a space that for some reason they weren't playing Utah. And I would write them and say, why aren't you playing Utah? I'll put your show and you can make some money and all that. And I would get a show and I would go and push it, and I'd write, put flyers together, and I'd get on my skateboard and go from one end of town to the other and stop by and put posters up in buildings and stop people on the street, say, hey, you'd probably like this show, you should go to it. And then putting that together and seeing the bands play and people show up, like, that's just really rewarding.
Yeah.
And when I was doing t-shirts, having an idea and seeing it put on a shirt and printed and somebody wearing it. I remember somebody called me, I don't know, this might have been before texting was cool, but they were back when T9 was the texting.
Dude.
But somebody
Throwback.
said, hey, hey, I just saw your T-shirt on Fox News. Like somebody was wearing it
so
in the background.
cool.
And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And
Yeah.
get online and see, like those kind of things are really cool. When I first did the pancake thing and I went to the gardener's market and I sat there for, an hour and I thought, is this even a valid idea? And somebody walks up and says, all right, can I get a pancake? How much is it? And I was you want to give me your money for
You want a pancake?
A pancake? Absolutely.
Right.
Like that kind of thing is just, that's rewarding and exciting and cool. And I would say anytime that you have an idea that comes into something and somebody else validates that it's a good idea by giving you their hard-earned money, it's very, very rewarding.
Well, and then it immediately makes you want to do more. It makes you want to, okay, well, what else can we do? What else can we do for, not necessarily for the validation of it, but because it's like, okay, so this is a good idea. So what other good ideas do I have? I think it's really cool, though, to highlight just what you've done, because you started in a band and then it was like, okay, so now I'm in a band. How do we be able to get more popular? Okay, so we promote it. Okay, so then I'm going to move up into this promotions position. Okay, so you promote it and then you find t-shirts, you find swag for these people for your band, and then you go up into the swag industry. Like I find that very cool because clearly you understand the marketing side of things, right?
Try to. Yeah. Marketing is a difficult beast to tackle, but yeah, I try to understand it as much as I can. And with those businesses prior to Stacked, it was kind of a smooth transition from one to the other. It made sense.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm in a band. I'm going to promote myself. Oh, hey, I might be able to get bigger and better if I get myself on shows with touring acts. And then, hey, maybe I should make some T-shirts for my band.
Right, why not?
Might as well just go sell some others at the same time. So yeah, that was kind of a smooth transition from one idea to the next. It was kind of a 180 degrees to go to pancakes. It was kind of random and stuff, but it kind of, all those other things really prepped me for this. So.
I think it's so cool. Like, I think it really goes back to the way that your brain works, because a lot of people, you're in a band, your band doesn't necessarily, people want to go do other things and they're not necessarily like as invested as you are. Most people just get detested and like bounce. But instead you were like, fine, I'm going to fuel my fire to go do other things. And so I think that's just really cool. I think that the marketing side of it is really, really cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. And, looking back on it, it was a means to an end. I wanted to be a rock star someday. I wanted to be on a big stage playing in front of thousands of people. And so it was, well, how do I get there?
Right.
I have to do this and this and this. Did I ever do that? Probably not in front of thousands. I probably had a couple hundred here and there.
But that's
we had
good.
Some great shows. Yeah, my band played on Warped Tour.
That's cool.
We got to tour outside of the state. We played, western states, Colorado up to Washington and different things like that. So I saw some small successes with it, and that was always really cool. I would still be a rock star, but I've moved to pancakes.
You're the rock star of pancakes.
Yeah.
No, I just think it's really cool because you've seen the success with pancakes, obviously, but it's so neat because you actually got out and you did things. Because instead of just like, oh yeah. Because I remember growing up, I was like, I'm going to learn how to play the guitar. Do I know how to play the guitar? No, because guitar was too hard. I learned how to plink on the ukulele, and that's as far as I got. But
that's pretty good.
It's just cool to see. I think just right back to your point of what you found the most success in or seen the most successful. It's just right back to your point of doing and doing what you want to set your mind to. And I think that's the coolest.
Yeah. And, maybe I'm being redundant or repetitive here, but
sometimes people need to hear it again.
It's cool. Like, it's exciting to see something happen that you thought about. Whether it's in music, T-shirts, or pancakes, whatever it is that you want to do, it's just really cool and rewarding to see that idea come through. Yeah. And like I said, to have somebody give you their hard-earned money. Like, people go out and they work hard. It takes an hour of work for some people to come and buy one stack of pancakes. Yeah. And the fact that they're willing to do that is it's really cool.
I think it's cool that you realize that, because there's a lot of business owners out there. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm speaking out of place here, but I think there's a lot of business owners that don't think about it that way. It's, my product is clearly the best here, and it's that they're stupid for not spending money. But it's cool that you're actually thinking about the humans and the work that goes in behind it, because you've seen the work, you've put in the work, and you get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I do think ours is the best.
Right.
But
well, of course. But it's not
but
like
they're not dumb if they don't come by from us.
Right. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people, I don't know, they just take for granted, really. That's the best way that I would say. So who do you think in your life your biggest influence has been, for business, for personal, either one or both? I don't know if I would say I have one. Yeah.
As I mentioned before, my parents,
Mm-hmm.
My father was an entrepreneur, still is.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot from him, and he's been somebody that I could reach out and ask questions to, which has always been good. My grandparents on both sides of my family have been entrepreneurs and great mentors. My grandfather on my dad's side of the family, when I was a kid, they would live out of an RV, and they would drive around to different carnivals and fairs and sell jewelry and eyeglasses and sunglasses.
That's cool.
And so just growing up, I saw them doing that.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was kind of a motivator. I don't know if I ever wanted to go drive around from fair to fair.
Right.
But I saw them doing it, and I saw them working hard to make that happen. And, my grandfather on my mother's side started and ran a very successful business, and after college I actually spent a few years just working with him, and he was a great mentor for me, and taught me a lot about business, a lot of things that I thought I knew. I was like, oh, this is a great idea, we should do this and this, and he would say that no,
this is why,
this
and
needs to be changed and adjusted, and so that was really helpful. But my family members especially have been really great mentors for me.
I think that's awesome. I'm sure growing up and seeing these people be happy and be just good with their life, I think has to have been really cool, because I think a lot of times people are so scared to start and so scared to just launch into a brand new thing because, well, what happens if it doesn't work? Well, what happens if, this? I'm comfortable with my 9 to 5. I'm comfortable with just doing this thing and going home and complaining about my job and then doing it all over again the next day. And I'm sure that's just been awesome.
Yeah, and I think, just seeing it my whole life, I don't know, maybe my brain works differently and it's more normal for me than the other way. Mm-hmm. And I probably should mention, even my mom has done stuff. Like right now, she's self-employed.
That's
she
cool.
does her own stuff. So she's been a good example for me as well. But yeah, I think, when you see it, when you've tried it, there's a certain mentality around it that kind of has to be met. Mm-hmm. You have to be risk averse to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. And so just seeing that, I think, kind of maybe changed my mindset on that. I know my wife didn't come from a family that was that way. Mm-hmm. They're very supportive of everything. But, she used to say to me all the time, why can't you have a regular 9 to 5 like anybody else?
Because it's boring and I'm not happy doing it.
Yeah, so... I would joke around and say, you actually get to see me more because of this. And it might be more random, the hours.
Right.
But I'm much more free. I can usually leave and come do things when I need to help her with things. So, yeah, that's different than a normal 9 to 5.
Yeah, but I think the happiness is a way bigger trade-off than anything, and I think a lot of people are nervous to take the risk, like you were saying, of just starting their own thing, because it's like, well, what happens if it doesn't work? Well, it might not work, but a lot of the times people don't prioritize their happiness, they prioritize the money, and the money's not worth it when your happiness is being drained.
Yeah, for me, it's nice to earn money, and it's a necessity to earn money. But it's never been what has driven me. I've never been driven to just get rich off of being a business owner. I've been driven by the process. I enjoy, as I said before, just the process of building something up and getting it going and seeing it happen. And which sometimes is good and bad, because I'll be like, oh, well, now I want to go do this instead, and now I want to go do this, and maybe I should try this again in a different way. So sometimes I can be a little ADD on that side of things, and that probably drives my wife nuts too, because I want to do that. I tell her, I'm like, I want to go open a bar, or I want to open a burger joint too, and
just do random
this kind of stuff. But
that's fun though, to have that drive to just try new things and risk new things. I think that's super fulfilling. I mean, really, to be able to have the mindset to come up with these ideas and be like, no, this is going to work, because the other ones that I've done, they've done kind of what I expected them to do. And so I think that's just cool. I don't know. I think it's really neat. I like hearing like your story. I just find it very, very interesting. So yeah, you're welcome. So with risk, what do you think the biggest risk you would say, like, your entire business has been? Just starting?
Yeah, it was a big jump to go from a 10-foot tent at a gardener's market every Saturday to, where I was paying not a whole lot of money to be there and to pay an employee to be there with me, to a restaurant where I have a rent check that's due every month. I have employees that are going to be there whether I have sales or not, because I have to have somebody there in case somebody does show up. Right. And so the risk and concern for me to jump from that 10-foot tent to brick and mortar, where I knew I was responsible for making sure that I signed a paycheck that didn't bounce every other week.
So important.
And rent check that didn't bounce, and light bill that kept the lights on, and gas bill that kept the griddle hot. Like, all of a sudden the little bit of money that it kept me going before into what it does now, that was a big jump for me. And I didn't have much money going into it, so it's always a relative thing. Some businesses take hundreds of thousands of dollars to stay open every month. Some might take $1,000. Some might take, some huge corporations might cost $1 million to stay open.
It's crazy.
And so for me, it was, even though I'm not as big as some of these others, it was a big jump for me to go from once a week, a couple $100 to stay in business, to the daily grind of making sure that I had enough money to cover my bills. Yeah. And I don't want to just cover my bills. I want to be successful.
You want to be making money, right?
So that was a big one for me.
Yeah, money may not be the driving force, but buying fun things is buying fun things, Yeah. So with the process of all of your pancakes and with the process, you could expand. You could have the opportunity to expand, but you guys have kind of prioritized. This is something that I really appreciate, I really value with you guys, is that you want to make sure that the process is consistent. You want to make sure that your product is consistent, right? Right.
Yeah, so we haven't opened a new restaurant for a couple of reasons. One of them is right in line with what you were just saying. So I did go to college. I went to school, and I went to business school. And actually, one of the things that stuck with me was, one of the concepts we learned is you got to nail it before you scale it. Yeah. So we came into this, and it's been kind of a slow process of making sure we've nailed it. Now, I'm never going to be 100% perfect on anything I do. Yeah. There's always going to be something that can be improved. So I have to take a step back and say, okay, am I good enough? Even though I know that there's always going to be some improvement. And am I bringing in enough money that I think that if I could go do it somewhere else, that I would be successful to the same point, if not more, than I am here? And I feel like I'm pretty close to that. So, like, I I have a restaurant that I don't have to be here all the time, and it runs and it does a good job, and I have great employees that work hard and make sure that, you know, our customers are taken care of and they care about the work that they do, which is awesome.
Huge.
So I've got great people here. So yeah, the possibility of opening another place is definitely there. It's just when and where.
Yeah.
For me now, I think.
Well, and right back to you nail it before you scale it. I think back to a place that shall remain nameless so I don't get sued, but there was a place that I used to go to and I used to eat their food, and it was good. I mean, it was decent. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever had in my entire life. You know, sometimes it would be great, sometimes it wouldn't be great. And I remember they expanded to another little small town where I was living before, and then another little small town, and then another little small town, and pretty soon they had like 7 franchises, and it was as quickly as they scaled, it equally quickly that they just went away. Everything went away. I don't know what the story is behind what had happened. I would love to sit down and have a conversation. If I remember right, I think the guy's in jail though, so I don't think I can have the conversation with him. So I think it's really important that you do make sure that your product is perfect, close to perfect.
Yeah, it's
Process is
it's not just
perfect more.
Yeah, the process. So like when I go open another place, I want people that have eaten at this stack to be able to go to that other stack and feel like they got the same thing, whether they were here or there. And having, you know, I can't be here all the time.
Right.
If I have multiple locations, I wouldn't be able to be at all the time to make sure that everything's being done correctly. So having everything in place so that when you open the new one, it's consistent and good, and then just making sure that the finances are in place to make sure that it's successful. And you know, some places can do it; they can open really quickly and pump out a bunch of different places and be successful. Yeah, I see it happen, but it can also happen the other way, where people pump out a bunch and it kills them. That actually they can't maintain that, and so we want to make sure that we're doing it right. Before we do.
So do you find a lot of like help talking to other local business owners or small business owners, wherever they may be? Do you network a lot with them?
Yeah, I try to. In fact, just recently I started getting together with some friends that have started some smaller businesses, and we try to get together once a month, and we just call it a little mastermind think tank. And one of them has a restaurant, one of them has a business that's doing mustache wax. Nice. And you know, and we just get together and we say, hey, what's working for you? What's not working for you? What kind of questions do you have with your business that maybe we could help with? And it's just kind of a way for us to brainstorm and think and try to improve. And that's one thing I've done, but I always like to just keep relationships open to anybody and just talk with them. I'm part of a networking group here in town with other businesses where we try to help each other build on referrals and different things like that too. And that's been really good.
Having a soundboard, I think, is so important too. And a lot of people don't think about the importance of having that soundboard and of being able to sit down and just converse and just spitball ideas. And I know that a lot of the times when it comes to finding similar people, you know, it's getting easier now with social media, and it's getting easier to be able to reach out to people randomly across the country. But I think that's cool. It's cool that they've got local stuff too.
Yeah, having support is critical, I think. You know, I try to have a good relationship with my employees so that I can have conversations with them. They can give me feedback and say this is or isn't working. But it's good to have advice from people that are outside. It's funny because I feel like I can go look at a business and say, well, they're not doing well because this and this and this. Right. And I could be in my own business and be missing those exact same things because it's right in front of me, and sometimes you don't see what's right in front of you. Too personal almost. It takes that outside view to see what's actually going on, even though I should know it. Right. And so I think it's always good to have that. Support.
I think open door policy, I mean, especially when it comes to your employees, when it comes to people being able to just have the conversation, is so freaking important. I flash back to different jobs that I've had, different places that I've worked. I mean, I've worked all over banks, law offices, food service. And I think back to the ones that I've loved the most, and the relationships that I have with the boss is always the thing that is really the deciding factor on whether or not I enjoyed that job. And so I think it's cool. I'm assuming it's mostly open door policy where you're checking in with your employees and having the conversation. You're here, which is super important.
Yeah, I try to get to know the employees that work here, and some of them it's harder because they don't work as much, or just the timing of when I can be here and when they're here makes it a little more difficult. But the relationship I have with my manager and the relationship he builds with them hopefully helps bridge that gap a little bit. But yeah, I try to do everything I can to at least let them know that I appreciate the work that they're doing, and listen to their feedback, and not just be a boss, but be a person.
Yeah, which is important. I love that. Be a boss. No, be a person. That's so cool. What's the number one thing, if you were to give advice to people that are thinking about starting a new business, or maybe on the edge of like, well, I don't really know. What would be your biggest piece of advice that maybe people don't really think about?
So one of the things that's been on my mind fairly recently, I actually talked to one of my employees about it, and then I was talking to a friend who had, he had thought about some entrepreneurial things before, and I said to him, here's the thing. I said, I'm not that smart. And almost anybody could have had the idea for pancakes. It's not novel. But I have a restaurant, and I'm doing it, and it's working. And it's just because I did it.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have an idea, you gotta go out and you gotta do some research to make sure that hopefully it's not a dumb idea. I don't know, some people that think dumb ideas, that idea could go be, or think that an idea is dumb, that idea could actually go be wildly successful, right? And in fact, I was talking to somebody who started quite a large business. Yeah. And he said, if you had come to me and told me that you wanted to do pancakes, I would have thought that was an idea that would have failed. Yeah. And we haven't failed yet, so we're doing okay. And he even said it that way. He's like, it's really easy for somebody to go look at something else and say, that's not a good idea. But if you take the time to just kind of do some research around it and say, is this it or isn't it? And go do some testing. Just do. That's the thing, is just go do it. And that's what's going to make the difference. And if it does fail, at least you know you tried. And at least you know that it wasn't a good idea. And then you can move to the next one. And just, get past it. So I think for me that would be advice that I would give people. Just go do it. Yeah. And don't be afraid of the risk at all, because risk is always going to be involved. No matter what you end up going into, risk is always there. And what is it that they always say? Opinions they're a dime a dozen. Yeah, their opinions are a dime a dozen. Opinions, everybody has an opinion, and if you have an idea and you think it's going to be successful, I'm not saying tune them out necessarily. Hear them out, listen to what they're saying, but also know that it's their opinion's their opinion, and if you keep your head down, you keep working hard, and you keep doing what you want to do, you could be massively successful. Yeah. And don't spend all your time. A lot of people will have a big grand idea, and they get caught up in the grandness of the idea. Yeah. And they don't make something happen because it seems so far and out of reach. Take that idea and strip it down to the most simplest form that you can, and go test it out.